Getting the maximum amount of business funding for your business all starts with your personal credit profile. So today, I'm going to show you the foundation using my own personal profile as a case study because I've shown other case studies and other personal profiles, but I haven't went into full detail with mine. So today you're going to see all the credit cards that I have, all the limits that I have on my personal credit cards, and overall how to structure your personal profile. And we even going to talk about business and how to structure your business profile so that way you get up to 250K in business funding or even higher than that so you can get the maximum amount of funding for your business. So without any further ado, let's go. What's going on? It's Colin Brown here from Business Credit Unlimited on back. Yeah, let's jump right on in, you guys. So the personal profile that allows for 250K in business funding, and let's use my own personal profile as a case study. Now, I'm going to show you, all 11 of my personal credit cards because I do have 11 of them. Really, I'm missing one because I do have a kickoff. I did kickoff as a test back like 6 years ago or something, and it's still on my credit reports. But this is one thing I will say before I even go into my personal credit reports. It's like the video. It's like, but right now, don't even play with it. And make sure that you comment and subscribe to as well. But now, one thing I do want to say really quickly is if you are someone that has credit builder cards on your credit profile right now, don't get any more. And if you're someone that's in the credit repair stage, like you're still working on, removing negative items off your personal credit reports, you're not at the 700 plus credit score yet, don't deal with like the credit builder accounts like a Kickoff, Open Sky, what else they got out there? Even Self, things like that. Don't deal with those accounts because it's not going to look good on your credit reports. When I was doing credit repair myself, I understand. I used to suggest those accounts too as well. But now that I'm wiser and I'm on the business funding side, I see how banks look at these accounts. So don't add any accounts like that on your credit reports. If you're going to do a secure card, or if you want to add an account and you can't get approved for like a Chase or American Express yet, get a secure card that actually graduates. Okay. So that way you may have to do a secure card now, but later on you can get that sent to upgraded as to just an unsecured credit line. And it's going to look a lot better on your profile than you got like this, again, Open Sky and all this other crap, Credit One, banks like that on your credit profile. Anyways, now here are my 11 credit cards. Okay. I have the American Express Gold that has no preset spending limit, but they have given me a cap before. So like with American Express, you do have to be careful. That's another video that I plan on making, talking about American Express and them like taking off your no preset spending limit. But either way, Capital One Business only $3,000. Yeah, and they cut me from $5,000 too. Capital One, that's like one of the only two credit limit decreases that I've ever had. But look, it's whatever. Capital One, the business credit card, the Spark card is the one that I have. I literally only got that because I read an article saying that the Capital One business credit cards no longer report to personal credit reports. And I was like, okay, well, I'm about to go ahead and get one. Guy that got approved that day, 5K, was good to go. And then 30 days later, it did report to my personal profile. So don't get Capital One business credit cards. That's unless you wanted to report. And honestly, there is some situations where you would rather have that than have nothing. But for the most part, you're starting clean. Like you don't want any personal or any business credit cards to report to your personal credit reports. Avoid that. Virtual One, which is one of my oldest cards, like 10 years old, 5,600. I haven't gone back to go get an approval. I got a Best Buy store card a while back at 4K. Citibank at 9,500. That's like my third credit card. Discover Bank, which is one of my first ones too, at 18K. Have an FNBO, or First National Bank of Omaha, sitting at an 11.9. I have a Chase card. This is the Sapphire Preferred card at 16.7. Navy Federal at 25. Two cards, the Cash and the Platinum card at 25 and 24K, respectively. So PSECU, which is a credit union, that's at 20K. And then my first credit card, which is my oldest card, is literally over 10 years old, is 5,500. With some of my lower limits, I've never went back to go get an increase. I know I could if I wanted to, but I don't really care. Like that's one thing that I want to show you about building a personal profile is, you guys, a lot of you guys just keep going for personal cards, and I just really don't know why. Like once you get like a foundation like this, you don't have to have 11 cards like me. Say you got a good foundation, you got 3, 4, 5 cards. You know, you got like 50K in total limits, which mine is almost at 144K. Shout out to the 144K. But either way, mine is almost at 144K. You don't need much more than that. Like maybe one of these days, if I feel like it, I'll do credit limit increases. But for the most part, unless a personal credit card is giving me the perks that I need for travel or something like that, I'm done with personal credit cards. Why would I get more personal credit cards? I already have the foundation that I need. My highest limit is 25K. If I wanted to, I can go for a higher limit than that, get 30 or something on that one more than likely. I've never tried, and they haven't automatically done it, and I haven't submitted one, so it is what it is. But you don't have to be at 144K. Say if you're at, again, like a 50K, 25K, you still got some room. But if you hit a minimum like a 50K, especially if you like 75, 100, you're good to go. So this is how you structure your personal profile. You want to get a solid base of personal credit cards where you build some good relationships. Like with me, FNBO, I have that on the business side too. Chase is a great relationship to build. Wells Fargo is, Navy Federal even. American Express is a great relationship to have. And I don't have the most optimal either. Like if I was to go back 10 years ago, this thing would look completely different. Like completely different. But I'm trying to get you guys not to make the same mistakes that I made before I really knew what I was doing. So this is what, again, you want your profile to look like. In a sense, though, something around here where you have a strong base of 3 to 6 cars, something like that. You want your minimum credit limit, minimum to be like 25K, but really you want like 50K plus. You don't want too much on the personal side, though. You don't want like 200, 250, 300, unless you really use that much money. If on the personal side, your personal expenses are like 5K a month, and you don't really use your cards like that, and you never have, you're going to have a hard time getting approvals on the business side because you don't spend that much money like that. So why have 250K in personal cards? You only spend 5K. That's such a small percentage. And the banks are going to see that and notice that, and you're not going to get higher limits on the business side because you're not using what you have on the personal side. Me, I've actually used all these cards. Like almost every one of these cards have been maxed out at least once. I'm looking at it. I think all these cards have been maxed out at least once. Therefore, I'm putting myself in a game where I'm showing the banks that, yeah, I will max out a card. I will spend money on my card. So therefore, when I go for business funding, and the same thing over there, they know I will spend money. Therefore, it give me higher limits and approve me for funding. So tips: stop applying for personal credit cards if you're a business owner seeking business funding. That's what I was just going into. And only open accounts that give you a great chance of funding on the business side. Say bye-bye to those online banks like, what's the one bank, the online bank that a lot of people use? I'll either put it on the screen or I'll think of it later. But like those little online banks, they don't have like business credit cards. You're not going to have a great chance of funding with them. Let them go. Like Chime, that's one of them. Like Chime, you got to let that stuff go. You want to be strategic about the banks that you go to. If you still have to build personal credit, or you're still building your personal profile and you're structuring your personal profile, your personal credit for business funding, say bye-bye to the online banks, the Chimes and all that. You don't want to deal with those banks. You want some of the big guys like a Wells Fargo, Navy Federal is even cool. Chase, of course. Again, American Express, something like that. These are the banks that you want to go for. You want to get credit cards with, so that way you've established a relationship with them for when it is time for business funding, or you're already ready for business funding. You're just trying to optimize. Yeah, these are the banks that you want to go for, not these online banks. Okay, that don't have like physical locations and stuff like that. Okay. Now, this is normally where I show you the data points that you need to be qualified. So let's see how my profile matches up. Like I normally tell you guys, 700 to 750 credit score. Mine normally sits at around 833 plus. Okay, 3 to 9% credit utilization. Mine's normally around 5. Okay, credit history 5+ years. Mine's is 10. Highest limit 10K to 25K. Mine's at 25K. No negatives. I have no negatives. So that's why it's much easier for me to get funding from the banks, because of these metrics. I say this all the time. I tell people these metrics all the time, and I just don't understand it. For some reason, they think I'm just saying it, or banks don't care or something. I don't know, because people all the time, they have like late payments, and they're like, well, it was only 3 months ago, or it was like a year and a half ago. It says no negatives, all right? Like, I don't know why you think it don't matter, but it does. And banks care, and you will get denied for it or get lower limits. So it's something you need to take care of. So I guess I'll talk about that really quickly with negatives. It says no negatives here. That's for if you're looking to structure your profile for 250K, like this says, you're going to want the least amount of objections as possible when it's time to go for funding for the banks. Therefore, if you have any negative items, some banks will look over it and you'll still get approvals. Some banks won't. So what happens there is you go in, you got a late payment, especially if it's less than 2 years old. You may get an approval of 25K from one bank, and you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm still getting approvals. But then you go to the next bank. Okay, I only got 5K there. It's just them. But the next bank, denial. The next bank, denial. The next bank, denial. So you got 30K out of 5 banks, and you wonder what's going on. And it's something that you know that's there. You just haven't addressed it. It's because you have a late payment. Okay, or you have a collection. You got child support on your credit reports. You got a charge-off account. You got a repossession on your credit reports. Even maybe a bankruptcy on your credit reports. These things have to be checked. So if you're building your profile out for 250K in funding, one thing you have to do is make sure that you don't have, in the last 7 years, you don't have any type of negative accounts at all. No late payments in the last 7 years. No collections. I just went through the whole list, okay? You just got to check this, okay? And you have to look at open and closed accounts, okay? And student loans. Are your student loans delinquent, right? Are they up to date? You got any late payments on those? Because that's a big thing right now. A lot of people are getting late payments on their student loans. Are yours in deferment? Are they coming out of deferment and now you owe, you got to make a payment on them? Have you made the payment? Have you set up auto pay? These things are vital when it comes to getting funding for your business, and you think that it's not important and it's trivial, but then you go for funding and then you start getting denials and you wonder what's going on. It's the simple things, man. You got to stop ignoring the simple things. But you may be someone that's watching this and you don't. So I'm not talking about everybody, but for those that do, stop ignoring the simple things, all right? Because again, we're talking about how to build and structure your personal profile for maximum funding for 250K. You got to have these things, guys. You got to have it. Now, business can be new, preferred 2+ years. So if you're someone that's looking for business funding, but you haven't even started your LLC yet, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, start your LLC. It needs to be tenured. You can't just shortcut this every time with like an Age Corp. I talk about that on another video, where you can't just buy an Age Corp and skip the line with every single bank. They're not going to appreciate that. Or appreciate it. You know what I mean? They're not going to take that into account, because a lot of banks look at how long you've been the sole owner of a corporation, aka how long have you owned that Age Corp. Your Age Corp could be 20 years, but if you've only owned it for 3 months, guess what? Your age of your business is only 3 months still. So start your LLC. 3 to 5K in cash liquidity for lenders. Really, you want to have even more than 3 to 5K. That's on the very, very low end. Like I said, we're going to talk about business too, not just personal profile, because this all kind of goes into it. And you can have this money on the personal side, 3 to 5K in cash. But this is going to help you out a lot when you're establishing relationships with the banks. You want to have some cash and some liquidity for funding. Okay. Now, in parentheses, you see I have 7 years, 150K. I'm just showing you like the things that you need versus how much I have and why I'm able to get approved for funding. Okay. Business funding business revenue, can be $0. You've never made a single red penny in your business. However, if you're making 15 to 25K a month, that's preferred. Like I can take you and get you a lot of funding, especially if you don't know exactly which banks to go to. You don't have any connections with any relationship managers. You need to get with me so we can get this thing going. So don't be around here. You're making money in your business. You got the personal profile, but you haven't went for funding. You just don't know what to do. Anyway, that was just a small small tangent there because that happens with a lot of clients. But either way, an established banking relationship with a major bank. So when you're building your personal profile, right? First of all, you have just the metrics here, right? The personal credit profile, right? You got the credit cards that we're talking about. Now let's talk about the relationships. This is vital, okay? Like this is one of the most important things when it comes to business funding. Not just the credit cards that you have and the limits that you have, okay? No negative items, that's cool, but also who do you have a relationship with? Now, this is something that for all of you guys, I can't tell you what the best bank is for you because you guys have completely different situations. You're all in different states. You know, you have different accounts on your personal profile. There's relationships you've already built, things that you haven't built. It's impossible to have a one size fits all for this, but I will tell you who not to go to. So let's talk about who not to go to, who I would say not to go to. And I do have right here too as well. Let's talk about my personal account. So on the personal side, I have Chase, Wells Fargo, and Navy Federal for personal accounts. Okay, when I say personal accounts, meaning personal checking accounts. This is who I have accounts with. On the business side, I have a longer list, right? A Chase, Wells Fargo, PNC Bank, Bank of America, Regions, which Regions is closed now. But I did have that. Synovus Bank, Valley Bank, U.S. Bank, American Express. These are all banks I either have currently, or most of them I have currently, or have had a business checking account with. Therefore, I'm fostering the relationship. I'm building and growing the relationship. Why is that important? Because when you go for business funding and you have a relationship with that bank, it's a lot easier to achieve the goal. It's called a relationship, right? You have to wine and dine, right? You don't just walk up and say, you know what, hey, you looking good. You looking good. Let me get that money. Let me get that 50K up off you. Let me get that 100. Let me get that 250K up off you. You wouldn't do that, you know, with your wife, your spouse, husband, or whatever, right? You don't want to do that with the banks. So you want to build the relationship first. And this is how you do it. You go to some of the major banks. So a lot of the banks on the business side, I was a lot more strategic with, because when I start building business accounts or business relationships, I was a little bit more wise than when I started 10 years ago, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Then when it came to, you know, establishing relationships on the personal side. But these are some of the banks. Now, I'm not going to say again, this is not for everyone. I'm not saying that you should open up an account with Chase, Wells Fargo, PNC, BOA, because some of these banks may not be in your state. Matter of fact, for a lot of y'all, a lot of these banks are not in your states at all, and it won't be beneficial for you to open. However, this gives you some of the banks just so you can look at and see for someone that has, I don't know, between my loans, lines of credit, and business credit card, I may be over $1 million right now. I don't know. I haven't even went back to check everything I got, because I think the video I posted, 477K, I got that just last year in 2024, and I've had funding for many years now, and that was not counting not a single one of my business credit cards. So anyway, Either way, so let's talk about some banks I think you should not go to though. So these are the banks that I can say for all of you guys, it's probably not going to be the best move. One bank would be Citibank. Okay, so Citibank, although it is the fourth largest bank in terms of assets in the U.S., and they do have some nice solid personal credit cards. Like they do have a Citi double cashback card. I do have that card. But for business funding, I would say it's a no go because, and this also, it's just so hard to say one size fits all. You guys, I promise it is, because for some of you guys, this is gonna work. Like one of these business credit cards will work. But as far as building a relationship, going out my way to get a business checking account and all of that, and like really going in with Citi, I think there's better options. Okay, so as both of their business credit cards don't provide a 0% introductory period. In Costco, you have to have a Costco membership, I believe. This is a rewards card and it has an annual fee after the first year. So it's just not the best, but it's not the worst. It's just not the best. So I wouldn't really go out my way to build a relationship with Citibank. Discover card. I have a Discover card, right? You saw me say that earlier. And we know that they're going to merge with Capital One. Capital One has recently purchased Discover, right? But for right now, I don't think they're the best either. I don't think they offer a business checking account. I don't believe so. But and they used to have business credit cards that they actually discontinued too as well. They used to report to the personal side. But this is not a bank Discover. Like I think it's a good personal credit card to have, and especially if you're trying to get your limits up, go ahead and do that. But as far as like anything else, really trying to foster your relationship for business funding purposes with Discover, just not the best. And Capital One. Okay, Capital One, I just spoke about them. They're definitely not the best when it comes to business funding. So this is not someone I would open a business checking account with either for the most part. However, if you have a physical location, if you live in a state with a physical location with a Capital One, their business line of credit is actually not half bad. But again, you have to have that physical location. Like here, I don't have a Capital One here in Alabama. We don't have a Capital One physical location. So definitely not the best. And then they're not known to give the highest limits on the business side. They're kind of hit or miss with that. So I just don't personally think it's the best. However, again, it definitely can work for a lot of you guys. And here are some of their business credit cards here. All right. So, and that's not really the point for this one, so I'm going to skip by that. American Express. American Express has a great business checking account. However, you don't really need the Ned. You don't really need the business checking account to get business funding from Amex, right? So I'm not sure if this is also an account you would really want to open, a business checking account you would really want to open and really grow that relationship with them. But it depends too. So this is not a one size fits all, but for the most part, I would say from a lot of you guys, you don't really need this, especially if you already have the personal credit card. If you got the personal card, you should be good. Okay. Local credit unions. There are many great local credit unions with good options for business funding, but most of them are not the best options for newer business owners because, one, normally you have to have a hard pull to join a credit union. Most credit unions are regionally locked, or credit unions in general. This says local credit unions, but credit unions in general, most of them are regionally locked. The ones that you know about, that you see on YouTube or Instagram and things like that, a lot of them are regionally locked. Some of them not, some of them so. But oftentimes they don't offer a 0% introductory rate, and sometimes there are better options. So I'm not sure if I was starting as a newer business owner and I wanted business funding, I wouldn't really go to like 5 different credit unions, but I would go to 5 of the major banks, okay, and start and grow a relationship with them. We've seen much better results like that. Like it's just a lot more predictable. They have better rates with the 0% introductory rate, but it also depends. Some of you guys are around some local credit unions. That may work. Some credit unions that are even national, like a Navy Federal, may be a great option. But for the most part, these are some banks that I would not go to build my personal profile up, and but just to build, just in general for business funding. Especially, I'm assuming that you're looking for business funding. You don't already have 250K in business funding. You're looking for your first approval, or you're looking for your next 50K or 100K to either start, grow, or scale your company. I wouldn't do that with any credit unions for the most part. But it's just so many different nuances, guys. I wish that I can come on here and just give you a one size fits all for everyone, but it don't work like that. Anyone tells you that, they're lying. For each one of you guys, you're gonna have a better, I mean, not a better solution, but you're going to have your own unique solution. Okay, you're gonna have your own unique strategy that will work best for you, and that may include a credit union. But I'm just saying, for the most part, I would say no. Now, how do you even start this, right? What do you do to start a relationship? Because again, this is vital. So you already had a profile. You know what a profile looks like. You know what banks to not go to. Now, I've even shown you some of the banks that you do go to, but how do you actually do this? So I would go to bankbranchlocator.com, see what banks that are in. You can, boom, go on here. I would go to my states. Like, say you live in, we'll just pick Ohio. You live in Ohio, right? You see you got Huntington Bank, Fifth Third Bank. I like them. Chase, you got PNC, you got US Bank, Key Bank. And what I did too, by the way, is when I went to Ohio, zoom in a little bit here. When I went to Ohio, if you see, I actually clicked here and I went to Ohio banks. And then here at the top, I put in largest banks in Ohio. I just like doing that versus like going to my specific state my specific city within the state. Say if you live in Apple Creek, shout out to Apple Creek, Ohio. Like, look at this. They don't have that many banks in Apple Creek, Ohio. You know, if you go to Cleveland, there's probably a lot more banks, but even then, there may be some banks that aren't in Cleveland that's in the state that you have access to. So I like going to the largest banks in said state. And once you do that, you see your options here. You know, I like Citizens, Key Bank. We've got approvals from there. Bank of America, even a First National Bank, Flagstar. You got some really good options, right? And I would pick out at least 5 of these options, right? And then start to build a strong banking relationship for 2 to 4 weeks. Now, what is a strong banking relationship? This is where you have a personal or a business checking account, a merchant account, and other products that have been established for, you know, that 1 to 3 months time period. For a merchant account, that's going to be amazing for building a relationship. You can do deposits specifically from a business transaction. That's going to be better than just cash deposits, especially if transactional history is a little bit longer. I would make sure I have no NSFs or non-sufficient funds. So make sure, like, if you have $1,000 in your account and you have a $1,200 expense coming out, if that happens temporarily, that's fine. But check your account, make sure that doesn't happen. It doesn't sit there for more than a day or two. And if it does, you're going to get an NSF, right? You're going to get an NSF and you don't want to do that. All right. And low 5 or higher bank rating is preferred. So make sure you have at least 10K in your account if you can. Obviously, for 5 banks, that's going to be 50K. A lot of you guys may not be dealing with that, especially if you're looking for funding for a company. But at least like low 4, like 1K, you know, you can pull 5K, right? You can leverage your personal credit to get access to 5K or even more, 25K. It really depends, but at least like a 1K. And it may be more too, by the way. It may be more depending on the bank. Like I said, it's not one size fits all, just showing you a general way. And this is what we do with our clients. So we take all this guesswork out. We don't do like, hey, go to Bank Branch Locator and then figure out what accounts to open and figure out how much to put in there. You just kind of ask me questions along the way. We tell our clients exactly which banks to go to, exactly how much to put in there, and for exactly how long before we go for funding. But if you're doing this yourself, this is what you would need to do. You want to deposit at least a minimum amount in cash to avoid fees, create deposits from your business or have expenses come in and out of your checking accounts. And then you can apply for funding after you've properly built relationships with the correct banks. And how to apply, let's just wrap this all the way up. You can either A, apply online, or number one, apply online. Number two, you can apply in branch, or three, via business relationship manager. Online, it works for some banks, and it works in general for some banks. And then some banks, it's going to be better to apply in branch. That's going to be better than online. But for the most part, if you have a business relationship manager within that bank, it's going to work 10 times better. And that's how we see are such high limits, especially with like a Chase, a Citizens, a Truist, these types of banks that we have relationship managers with. That's how we're able to get 25, 50K, 75K, even 100K approvals, depending on the bank and the relationship, the client's personal profile, so on and so forth. So this is how I would structure my personal profile. And again, I even added business because you could do the same thing with just personal, right? But it's going to work even better because you're going for business funding if you, build your relationships on the personal and business side, right? And that's what that looks like when you're ready to apply. So we broke this all the way down. We broke down what credit cards I have, which credit cards you should look to get. We talked about relationships, what banks you should open business checking accounts with or personal checking accounts with, so you can grow your relationships with what banks, how to look at which bank accounts to open yourself, and how to even grow the relationship. How much cash you should be depositing, how long you should wait. So we really broke this all the way down. So if you appreciate that, you need to go ahead and hit the like button right now. Don't even play with it. But that's pretty much it. Be strategic. Only go to the top tier banks, right? If you want top tier funding. But if you need one-on-one help, you don't want to go to Bank Branch Locator. You don't have time to go and see what bank accounts to open. You don't want to see how much cash to put in there yourself or do the research and watch a million other YouTube videos. I got it. It's all good. Hit the description box. You can schedule a call with the team. We'll talk one-on-one. Talk about exactly which banks we can go to and how much funding we can expect from those banks. So that way we can make sure that you are structured properly on the business and personal side to get up to 250K in business funding. But that's pretty much it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Go ahead and engage with me. I love the conversation. So go ahead and let me know what you think. And make sure, again, you like, comment, and subscribe, because guess what? I'm not letting up, and these funding videos will be coming out weekly and with no let up. See you guys in the next one. Peace.